Russia was right about the war with Ukraine. Or not. Thank you for visiting our channel. Today, we're going to examine the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, one of the most urgent and complicated geopolitical crises at the moment. Both for the region and for international relations, the conflict has broad repercussions. In this video, we'll give a thorough examination of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, including its context, causes, major incidents, and long-term effects. Part 1: Background and Origins. It is essential to look at the historical background in order to completely understand the current conflict. Russia and Ukraine have been at odds ever since Ukraine declared its independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. The origins of the current war can be seen in 2014, when Russia controversially annexed Crimea, a region that had previously been under Ukrainian rule. The annexation broke several international treaties and standards, as well as the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. It sparked a sudden escalation of hostilities between Russia and Western nations, especially the US and the EU. One key factor that contributed to the annexation was Russia's historical and cultural ties to Crimea. The region has a significant Russian-speaking population, and Russia has long considered Crimea to be an integral part of its historical territory. By invoking these ties, Russia sought to legitimize its actions in the eyes of the international community and its own population. Moreover, the annexation of Crimea by Russia was viewed as a calculated attempt to seize control of an important military and economic territory. By annexing the territory, Russia gained access to the Black Sea's ports and resources as well as a tactical presence in the area. The annexation of Crimea and the subsequent conflict in eastern Ukraine have also raised concerns about the principles of international law and the inviolability of borders. The conflict has highlighted the challenges faced by countries that seek to assert their sovereignty in the face of external aggression and the complex dynamics of regional power struggles. Furthermore, the conflict has demonstrated the vulnerabilities and limitations of international institutions and mechanisms in effectively addressing and resolving such disputes. Despite various diplomatic efforts and ceasefire agreements, a lasting solution has proven elusive, and the conflict continues to have a profound impact on the lives of people in Ukraine and the stability of the region. Part 2: Eastern Ukraine. Pro-Russian separatist movements first appeared in eastern Ukraine after the invasion of Crimea, particularly in the Donetsk and Luhansk areas. These separatist organizations desired stronger relations to Russia and more autonomy from the Ukrainian government. The origins of the separatist movements can be traced back to a combination of factors. First, there are deep historical and cultural ties between eastern Ukraine and Russia. The area features a sizable community of Russian speakers, who have linguistic, cultural, and historical ties to Russia. Some demographic groups have been encouraged to feel a feeling of identity and loyalty to Russia as a result. Second, the rise of the separatist movements was influenced by the political and economic complaints of the people in eastern Ukraine. The area has historically been a center for industry and has made a major economic contribution to Ukraine. Yet, it has experienced financial difficulties and a feeling of abandonment from the federal government. Frustration and a desire for more autonomy or links to Russia have resulted from this. The response of the Ukrainian government to the separatist movements was to launch a military crackdown in an attempt to regain control over the territory. This military action resulted in a full-blown armed conflict between Ukrainian forces and the separatist groups. The conflict has been marked by intense fighting, casualties, and significant humanitarian consequences. The situation in eastern Ukraine remains highly complex and volatile. To de-escalate the war and achieve a peaceful conclusion, ceasefire accords like the Minsk Protocol and Minsk II have been established. The implementation of these agreements has been difficult, nevertheless, due to frequent ceasefire violations and intermittent outbreaks of violence. The conflict in eastern Ukraine has also been influenced by external actors. Russia has been accused of providing military support to the separatist groups, including weapons, troops, and logistical assistance. This has further exacerbated tensions between Russia and Ukraine, as well as strained Russia's relations with Western countries. The eastern Ukraine conflict brings to light the more general issue of self-determination and the precarious balance between national unity and regional autonomy. It raises concerns about how to manage various societies within the framework of a sovereign state, as well as the rights of minority people and how to safeguard linguistic and cultural identities. Part 3. International response to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has received a lot of attention internationally and has profound effects on the entire world. The conflict has been addressed by a number of nations and international organizations through diplomatic, economic, and humanitarian means. One key element of the international response has been the imposition of economic sanctions on Russia by Western countries, including the United States and the European Union. These sanctions were imposed as a response to Russia's annexation of Crimea and its alleged support for separatist movements in eastern Ukraine. The sanctions targeted key individuals, entities, and sectors of the Russian economy, aiming to put economic pressure on Russia and compel a change in its behavior. The effectiveness of these sanctions, however, in changing Russia's behavior and ending the conflict is still up for question. The dispute has also been de-escalated and a peaceful solution has been sought through diplomatic efforts. The Minsk agreements, particularly Minsk II, have been negotiated between Ukraine, Russia, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, OSCE. These agreements aim to establish a ceasefire, facilitate a political dialogue, and find a comprehensive resolution to the conflict. However, the implementation of the Minsk agreements has been challenging, with numerous violations and a lack of trust between the parties involved. The OSCE and the United Nations, among other international organizations, have contributed to the monitoring and facilitation of the peace process. To monitor the situation on the ground, document violations, and aid in the execution of ceasefire accords, they have sent observers and peacekeeping missions. However, the conflict's complexities and the differing interests of the parties involved have made it difficult to reach a lasting resolution. Part 4. Humanitarian crisis and displacement. Thousands of people have died and countless more have been injured as a result of the violence. Millions of people have also been internally displaced or have sought safety in neighboring nations, adding to the enormous humanitarian burden. Critical infrastructure, like as hospitals, schools, and other basic services, have been damaged by the violence, making life even harder for the people who are affected. Humanitarian organizations in neighboring countries have provided assistance, but the scale of the crisis remains immense. Addressing the humanitarian needs of those affected and ensuring their protection and well-being is a crucial aspect of resolving the conflict. Conclusion. However, it should be noted that the war between Russia and Ukraine is a complicated and ongoing geopolitical issue with far-reaching effects on the area and global relations. The annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014 reached Ukraine's sovereignty and set off a chain of events that eventually resulted in the armed war in eastern Ukraine. This is where the conflict first began. The conflict has resulted in significant human suffering, loss of life, and displacement, creating a severe humanitarian crisis. It has strained relations between Russia and Western countries, leading to economic sanctions, diplomatic tensions, and geopolitical rivalries. The conflict has also highlighted challenges related to the principles of international law, territorial integrity, and self-determination. Efforts to resolve the conflict through diplomatic negotiations and ceasefire agreements have proven challenging, with numerous violations and a lack of trust between the parties involved. The conflict's complexities, including historical, cultural, and political factors, as well as the involvement of external actors, have made finding a lasting solution difficult. A comprehensive strategy that promotes diplomacy, negotiation, and respect for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity is necessary to resolve the crisis. The international community, as well as all parties concerned, must reaffirm their commitment to using peaceful ways to end the conflict and giving the needs and aspirations of those who are impacted top priority. Furthermore, addressing the humanitarian consequences of the conflict, including providing assistance to the displaced population and rebuilding infrastructure, is crucial for long-term stability and the well-being of the affected communities. The situation involving Russia and Ukraine serves as a reminder of the value of preserving international law and the peaceful settlement of differences. To achieve a comprehensive and long-lasting solution that upholds the rights and ambitions of all parties involved, continuous international participation, dialogue, and cooperation are required. In the end, the peace between Russia and Ukraine is crucial for both nations as well as for regional stability and international security. The international community can help the people of Ukraine have a brighter future and advance the principles of peace, stability, and observance of international law by banding together and committing to non-violent means. Thank you for watching, and please do not forget to like and comment. Till next time, stay tuned.